Rev up your engines! Honda Civics, they got a big history. Sold millions of cars. People say it's a Honda Civic, a little puddle jumper, right? Well, this is the 2021 Civic Type R. And unlike most things in our society, this R actually stands for something. And what it stands for is racing. This thing is made for racing. These actually serve a purpose. This makes it all aerodynamic. Massive brakes make it stop. Gigantic Brembo. 4 pot calipers in the front. And look at this, forged wheels. Corvette came up with a mid-engine. Great new design, look how great they are. They put cast wheels on them and they all break. And what did GM do? They were sued, but GM won in court on a technicality. They said that the wheels were not incorrectly produced. Cast wheels, and they made them in the cast fashion the way that they're supposed to be made. Guess what? Cast wheels can't take pressure, horsepower, banging. So then they crack and break, and that's what happens to a bunch of those Corvettes. But GM went in court because they said, you can only sue us for a manufacturing defect, not a design flaw. Well, they're the ones who designed the stupid thing, right? Any idiot knows. You gotta put forged wheels on a race car. Yeah, the cast wheels are gonna crack. It's just cheaper to make cast wheels, right? Honda, they did it right. Now this is number 191 out of 600 they built. They didn't make that many of this particular model. They sold them all really fast. Honda's into racing cars. They wanted to make something that their fans would be proud of. Unlike GM who, oh well, the wheels broke, you drove it too hard, right? No, Honda put forged wheels on there. They have brains. They designed them correct for the people. They're not just thinking, how much money can we make in pinch pennies? They probably aren't making that much money selling these cars. It's more a status thing for Honda than anything else. Make millions selling little bitty Civics. They're big sellers and they're great cars. But this is not a regular Civic. The regular Civics ride better. This is a race car. When you're going around, it corners like a race car. I've driven race cars and it's practically the same, except of course it's smaller because it's a Civic. It's not a smooth ride. You take the Corvettes that I've driven, the mid-engine ones. They can ride like a dream if you put them on their electronic magnetic ride system. You put them on the smooth touring mode where you're going, and they are quite smooth. Then when you switch them to racing, they're stiff as could be. This isn't set up that way. This is more for actual racing, people who want to race them, that are serious about it. They don't care that the ride's a little bit rough. They're not about a smooth ride. They're about driving like a race car. No, it's a Honda engine. It's all plastic, of course, and it is 2 liters. But what 2 liters? This thing puts out 306 horsepower. Now, of course, Honda was the first one to really go wild with VTEC, variable valve timing. This one now also has a turbo. Now, it's still a pretty torquey engine, even for 4-cylinder. It's almost 300 pound-feet, but it's at a lower RPM. It's not until a higher RPM with the VTEC that the horsepower comes in. So even at the lower RPM, it's got some pulling power because the torque comes at a much lower RPM. But once you get that thing spinning and the VTEC and the turbo kick in, this thing is one screaming little monster. As you can see, Honda put all their money into technology on this car, showing that this little R is more than just a little logo on the front bumper. It is a serious racing machine. And in the real world, they're not giving these things away. The guy paid $55 for this. They go off the shelves. They don't stick around long. With the coronavirus stuff, if you can find one, you're gonna have to pay whatever hostage price they decide to sell you for. You got no choice. Now as we get inside, you even got the plastic still on. Check it out. I would take the plastic off, but you are form fit into these seats. You're not going to move to the left or to the right. It is just like a racing seat. If you have any friends insane enough, it does have back seats. Although, once you put them in there, they may never come back in again. It's got this killer triple exhaust. I mean, it gives it a really nice look. And check it out. Decent trunk, too. You fold them down. People are always talking about hot hatches. You can't get much hotter than this thing. Let me tell you. You'll see when we drive it around. And check this out. Does it sound like a tinny Honda Civic? No, this baby is solid. It has to be solid so it doesn't have body roll. This isn't some cheap mass-produced little Civic that rattles and rumbles. It's got to have a solid body on it in order to take all the cornering without getting body rolled and things bending. The only thing that the real racers complain about is it's still a front-wheel drive car. It is not a rear-wheel drive drifter. Realize that only the first generation NSX and the Honda S2000 were rear-wheel drive. Honda's a front-wheel drive company, and they've left us front-wheel drive, and I don't think they didn't make a mistake, you know. Yeah, they're not made for drifting. They're made for racing. There's a big difference between racing and drifting. The drifting guys look cool drifting all over the place, but the racing guys are going a heck of a lot faster, and they need much different acceleration for cornering and for braking than a drift car does. This is a race car. It's not a drift car. And interestingly enough, where are these things made? Great Britain, the UK. And you know why? Because the English are into racing. All those Formula One race cars are almost all designed eventually in England. They're nuts about racing, so it makes sense that they're building these things in England. Because a limited amount, by hand by these guys, they take special care building them. And it shows. Now, normally, yeah, old Scotty's going to say, don't buy a Japanese car unless it's made in Japan. Well, let me tell you, these things that they made in England, they're a different breed. You don't have to worry about it. They're not an English car made in England. They're Hondas. And they do a good job putting these things together. When you only make a few hundred of this and that, you can really do a good job on it. Well, that's why a lot of custom-made cars come from England. You'd be surprised. Even though they say they're this or that, they're still into racing. United States racing is kind of a dying thing. It's fading away. The tracks are closing. But the English, they've always been into racing. So let's take it for a spin. A nice mellow tone when it's just idling, but that deep bass sound shows you something's hiding underneath. We're in the bumpy roads of Rhode Island, but it really doesn't ride all that bad now. I mean, you can feel it. It's never going to be a smooth ride. It's the handling that counts on these things. And the acceleration is insane, as we'll soon find out. And here we go! That's what this car is about. Speed! That engine wants to go fast. Great for a trip on the ocean. And of course, when it's running, it sounds great. Now, he kept his stock because he wants to keep it stock. A lot of guys, they'll gut them and have straight pipes. They'll be loud as can be. This thing's fast, but it's not obnoxious loud fast. It's still just as fast. It just doesn't make the noise, which, when you have a car that looks like this, is a good thing. So if you're young and you want to get one of these, and you're not a policeman, they're probably going to be chasing after you more often than not. So if you're looking for a real little race car and you don't mind the price, they'll probably keep their value for quite some time, because a low production car like this, they only made 600 for sale in the United States, it's going to hold its value. Look at the old S2000 Roadsters. They're going up and up in value. And a beautiful car like this, it'll certainly keep its value and one day maybe go way up if you don't wrap it around a tree. Now you might think 55 is a lot. Well, where he lives in Jersey, people went at 75, 80, 85. He ended up getting this in Mount Kismet, New York, because he priced around. These guys said 55. He said fine. He came and he bought it. So if you are thinking about buying one, it pays to look around. Even if you're going to buy it somewhere that's far away, it doesn't cost that much to ship these things. They're small cars. They fit in the back of many trucks that you might buy it somewhere else and then have it shipped to you. Don't just go and buy it in your area if it's outrageous pricing, because the prices vary all over the place. Take a tip from this guy. Hey, if somebody wants 80 and you get it for 55, certainly is a better deal. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Is my engine shot? I got an 01 Outback, 186,000 miles, that piston slap on cold starts. After revving at the red line one time, the engine knocks loudly, idle, goes away. The oil is now showing 1/4 overfilled, but I haven't changed the oil. Your engine shot. There's no arguing that. Clacking, generally you got piston knock. Now, if your oil is quart over, and you mentioned that you checked it, that it wasn't over a week ago, the engine shot. You probably got water in your oil, and of course then the oil floats on top and your level goes up because there's water in the bottom and oil on the top. And water in the oil is going to make it knock too. Well, there's obviously something internally broken. Head gasket, something's cracked, but with it making a noise like that, it's shot. And the Subaru engines are boxer engines. They only last so long. You got 186,000 miles out of it. That's just, a lot of times just when they need to be rebuilt, it's pretty much shot. Either get rid of the vehicle, have it rebuilt for thousands and thousands of dollars, or gamble with a used engine if you can find a junkyard that has any decent used engine. But it's definitely shot. If it goes up, unless you got weird friends that are opening your hoods and pouring oil and saying, let's fool him, it's because there's water in the oil, and then the level of the oil on the dipstick goes up. So the only thing that make it go higher. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.